But wait, can't forget about bird flu. That's right, that's still going on in the background too, amongst everything else. It's crazy out here right now. Listen, you know how this goes. Question everything. You should. And remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Let's get to it.
Here are 2 reasons why health officials are concerned about this new strain of bird flu that was found in Nevada this week. The first reason is because all of the cases of bird flu in cows to date have actually been from one strain of the virus called B3.13. That matters because officials had pointed to that as evidence for why they thought it was actually pretty rare for the virus to spread from birds to cows. The fact that a second variant of the virus has now shown up in cows suggests that that spillover risk could be higher than they were hoping. The second reason it's concerning is because D1.1 is the same strain of the virus that caused a deadly bird flu case in Louisiana last year. Now, of course, it's important to remember that the bird flu virus needs to have more mutations in order to spread efficiently from human to human. We haven't heard of those mutations happening yet in these Nevada cows. But of course, that's going to be small consolation for all of the workers who have to deal with these infected cows and potentially could get infected, even if it's unlikely they can spread it to others. Here are 2 reasons.
So you give us some good news followed by some alarming news. Yes, we haven't heard of any mutations, but we're not out of the weeds yet because workers are still interacting with these birds and different things. And I mean, can we catch a break, please?
You can now tell if labs have made your food at Walmart by putting a magnet on them. Watch.
So guys, been seeing all these online videos of all the meat lab grown stuff.
She in Walmart.
Magnets on the meat.
Put magnets.
If it's magnetic or if it'll stick to it.
All right, she's putting the magnet on there right there.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Put on the Walmart chicken breast. Guess what? Yeah.
That means it's grown in a farm or a lab?
Disgusting. People are eating this here.
Oh, that's so nasty.
These videos are coming from Walmart.
So she puts a magnet on the chicken, okay? And then she tries to get that magnet to fall off the chicken, okay? Now, a lot of people are saying that this is fake and that there's a magnet on the other side of the chicken. It'd have to be a very powerful magnet to hold onto that magnet through some chicken. But others are thinking that this is real. Is this real? Is our chicken magnetic? Because it's got our DNA stuff in it and they're trying to take us out through the chicken? What do you guys think about this situation? And I actually think about bringing a magnet with me every time I go and buy me some chicken. Tag all your friends and see what they think about this chicken magnet thing.
I want to do it, but I feel like I'll be arrested. I feel like they'll have me coming out of there and they'll spread some wild stories on the news about I was in there doing something to the chicken they ain't never seen before and how, they make up all kind of stories about me. No, thank you. No, I'm gonna take y'all word for it on this one. You know, I'm trying to cut back on the chicken as much as I possibly can, but I mean, what else is there for me to eat? Like, I do want to try the magnet thing, but like I said, I'll probably be in jail.
Sunday anchor Shannon Bream, also in her red, way to represent. One more thing from Pam Bondi. This is about the crackdown against sanctuary cities.
What they're doing is they are choosing illegal aliens over the safety and security of their own citizens and the men and women of law enforcement who are out there trying to protect their citizens. Not only did we sue today the city of Chicago, we sued the state of Illinois, we sued the mayor, we sued the governor, and we sued others. And let me be very clear, if you don't comply with federal law, you're going to be next.
Shannon, how will the city of Chicago handle all of that firepower?
Well, Dana, as you know, they've been very defiant, and what they've heard from is their...
Wait a minute. Who is that ultimately gonna affect? Us, right? Like, oh my, that's the part that gets me, man. Because I've heard a lot of city officials, governors, mayors, whatever, saying that they weren't gonna comply with what the government was telling them to do as far as migrants go. They weren't going to comply. When ICE showed up to their city, they wasn't going to comply. So if that's the case, those suits aren't just gonna affect, they're gonna ultimately affect us. How do y'all feel about that? I need to know.
Local citizens who say, why in the world are you prioritizing other folks in this community who came here without the proper legal means over us when our communities are suffering, they're dying, they're struggling. So you've got the feds now. He's got his local folks. Mayor Brandon Johnson is going to have his hands full. I think the interesting thing is, as you heard there from the Attorney General, they're going to go after funding streams. But again, the possibility that local and state officials themselves could get in trouble, legal trouble. If you will remember the original executive orders from President Trump, they talked about this, cutting not only the funding streams, but possibly civil and criminal actions against people that they believe are impeding or actively stopping ICE from doing its federal enforcement job.
You know, Shannon, I want to ask you about the state attorneys general issuing this new statement on their lawsuit about DOGE access to sensitive personal information. This seems to be becoming a bigger and bigger, fighting point for Democrats. In that statement, it reads, this level of access for unauthorized individuals is unlawful, unprecedented, and unacceptable. DOGE has no authority to access this information which they explicitly sought in order to block critical payments that millions of Americans rely on. We will be filing a lawsuit to stop this injustice. So there's 13 states that are vowing to file lawsuits. We've got a list of them. Is it just this, or is this just a sign of the times and a growing number of Democrats who are just trying to fight Trump's agenda?
Yeah, and I think that's what they're going to do. They say the fight is now in the courts because that's where they're going to have to go for every single one of these things that filters out from the executive branch. Remember, too, the executive order that created DOGE actually took an entity that already existed, the United States Digital Service Office, and they just retooled it. So those who are supporting DOGE say, listen, the underlying legal framework for this entity already existed. The president has repurposed it to this DOGE mission, but you do have lawsuits from federal employees, their unions. You've got it now coming apparently from these attorneys general as well. It is going to be a legal all hands on deck battle over all this executive action because, of course, much easier to flood the zone with that than it is to get things done legislatively on the Hill that take a lot more time and in most cases some level of bipartisanship and cooperation.
Shannon, I don't know if you can see this, but let me describe something that's happening live to you right now. There are about a dozen lawmakers, Democrats, attempting to get a meeting with the acting education secretary. This comes as President Trump has said the Department of Education, it might be something where Secretary McMahon, if she's confirmed, would get herself out of a job. And also you had the former Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos, writing yesterday in the Free Press. She thinks the Department of Education should be eliminated. This is one of those things where they're probably not going to get access to this building, but the Democrats are flummoxed as to how to deal with this, Shannon.
Yeah, Dana, I think you're right. We see them showing up and protesting outside of a number of buildings, or actually, as we saw on Capitol Hill yesterday, I think it was, actually forcing themselves and their way into a meeting that they wanted to be a part of. And I think right now they feel like chaos is the strategy. I think that was the line that was in Playbook maybe this morning, talking about the fact that they know that they're going to be overwhelmed with all of these actions, all the things that they, are trying to get a hold of. They're showing up. We've seen protests. We've seen we're at war. We've seen them say, take this to the streets. It does feel like the Democrats are kind of back on their heels trying to get control of the messaging, much less the substance of all these different things that are happening, Dana.
And I think the one congressman I can make out there is taking the photograph right now. I believe that's Maxwell Frost, and they're talking to a security guard. So let me just turn it back over to Sandra to ask you another question as we watch these Democrats who, I guess it's performative art in a way, Sandra, to try to make a point.
Absolutely. You notice the camera's up and you're.
So has anybody heard of what's going in place of? I know I've been asking that question for the longest. What's going in place of the Department of Education? And I have yet to hear of anything. Like, I'm genuinely concerned of what they're going to put in place and what's the new direction. What's like all we're hearing is cutting the Department of Education. And I know a lot of people are for that and a lot of people are against that. What are we going to do moving forward is my question. Like, later for all of this right now, we got children in limbo. We got people who need this assistance in limbo. You got people that are trying to get funding to go to college or different things or grants and stuff like that to go to college. We need answers to see how the generation is going to proceed forward.
You're noting Maxwell Frost, the congressman from Florida, in the picture there. Apparently this is a security guard. But Shannon, obviously this is just further signs of what is to come. I spoke with Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, yesterday and asked her about the president's intentions with the Department of Education. They're not detailing exactly where they're going with this, but there has been a lot of talk about dismantling it altogether or reworking it, but we just don't know, and that uncertainty leads to a lot of this.
It does. And conservatives have been talking about this for a long time, that they feel like states are much better equipped to handle the education system. It's closer to the parents. It's closer to the people that are directly involved, the students as well. So it's one of those agencies that has been targeted by conservatives to say this doesn't need to be this federal behemoth that has all of this money, when states and localities and local school districts know much more about what their students need. They are much more accountable to the parents who show up at these meetings, which we've seen the last few years, to demand answers and accountability for their kids. So
then that sounds like you're not saying that you're going to get rid of the Department of Education. You're saying you're going to cut some of the budget or of excess spending or things that don't need to be there. So now I'm confused. Are you removing the Department of Education or are you not? Because that didn't sound like that with what she just said. So that's why I said, like, the communication right now is bad. It's horrible. We need to know what's going on, especially the parents who have children that are going to school, maybe on some type of assistance that is needed, not just gaming the system, actually needed.
not surprising that there would be this conversation about taking this away from the federal level and sending it back to local and state. But I think ideally for conservatives, they want it as local as possible. And that means a threat to the federal agency that now exists.
Shannon, let's try to see if we can hear anything going on.
On your own behalf, were you told to come out here and block members of Congress?
Do they know that we're here? Max, ask the question again. That's important.
Were you told, are you making this decision to stand in front of this door on your own behalf, on behalf of the Department of Education, or were you told to come out here and block members of Congress from going to the desk?
Doing my job.
So everybody's freelancing? What is that?
We're doing our jobs.
We're trying to save your job.
Show them your ID. Were you told to stand here, or did you decide to stand here and block members of Congress from entering the Department of Education?
Access to federal buildings.
We're allowed in there.
So a private security contractor
do you know who members of Congress are?
Members of Congress.
We're all members of Congress.
Maybe he doesn't understand.
A private security contractor is making the decision to block members of Congress from a public access entrance.
I don't think he knows.
You have the authority as a private security contractor to block members of Congress. That has been knighted and granted to you. You have to at least let us go to the desk.
Yeah.
When the goons out. As many divorces you want.
Look at that. Who told you to do this? Open the door.
I'll see your name.
So do you understand who members of Congress are?
I got it, yeah.
Well, and you don't care. Who are we then?
I got the job right there.
You don't care. We have a job to do.
This reminds me of one of those like First Amendment audit videos we used to watch. And they be saying stuff like, this is a public building. You can't kick me out of call the police. Like, this is what this sounds like and reminds me of right now.
We're not dangerous people. We're not, I don't know, security. There are no thieves and thugs out here. We're members of Congress. We're parents. We're teachers.
Each of us.
There's our ID, right there.
We were elected to do this.
This is our job.
This is our job. We're doing our job.
Oh, wow.
You're securing this building against who?
Members of Congress. Who is the Congress? Who are you protecting?
Against members of the people.
So this is the beginning of full transparency of this administration.
That's right.
The administration that talked about they're going to open the doors to all of these things and show the American public what is going on. They won't even open the door to this building to members of Congress. We are not posing any threat here. We are not dangerous people. We have not done anything. We're trying to request a meeting, and they have a private security contractor who on his own is making decisions on behalf of the Department of Education.
So Congressman Hayes, what you're saying is they allow billionaires and his minions to come in
I don't
to
know
this
who
building.
he is. I don't know who he is, but I know who I am. And I'm a member of Congress with oversight responsibilities trying to request a meeting, and a private security contractor is not allowing me to enter the building.
They allow billionaires to go into this building, but not the people's representatives. They allow billionaires and their cronies to go in, but not. There's a lack of transparency here. The members of Congress, the people's representatives are not allowed in. This is not transparent.
They're locking our kids out. Well, not only are they not letting us in, now they've called the Department of Homeland Security. We are members of Congress here to talk with the Department of Education, and they're treating us.
The kids deserve to have us go in and fight for them.
This is appalling.
Children of this country deserve that battle.
This is a public institution. This is not Russia. Let the camera see him. Let the camera see him. Who is he? This man here.
We are members of Congress.
Bro, I think this is bad on both parts. Both sides. This is bad. Like, the fact that we're seeing this take place says so much about our country, about our nation. This is sad to see the back and forth between both sides. And like they're saying, the kids are most definitely watching. They're watching. Like, what type of example is this setting? Please, somebody explain that to me.
Come in.
They're blocking
I want you
us.
to see this man here, who is a federal employee. He told us.
he's not.
Are you a federal employee?
No.
Huh?
Yes.
No, he said he's a federal employee. We pay him. We raise money to make sure that we have a Department of Education. Everybody that's hired at the Department of Education are here because we pay for them to be here. He's standing here today, blocking the door, and he can't give us a good reason why he's blocking this door.
Make sure they see right here, all access entrance.
Well, and I think it should be clear to parents in the United States, if you want to advocate on behalf of your children, you are not allowed to come into this building where you pay taxes. Parents who have children who are disabled, access is being blocked. You voted for members of Congress to advocate on behalf of your children with disabilities, for young women who have been victims of sexual assault in our classrooms, on our school grounds. Members of OCR are fighting for your children. We are not allowed in the building to talk to them. We are not allowed to advocate on behalf of America's children. America, we have a problem.
Now, everybody stand back.
All right, so this is the Department of Education. You've got members of Congress from the Democratic side of the aisle trying to get in the building. You have a security guard who never wanted to be on television today, basically doing his job and denying them access. It is interesting that Fox News is the only one covering this live, and apparently this is what the Democrats.
Yeah, he got that look on his face like, man, like, why did I get picked to be put up front? His face gonna be everywhere. You hear me? Everywhere. This is gonna be clipped up so many times.
Democrats want, right? They want to be on television. That's Maxine Waters complaining, Sandra, that they can't get in the building. And then you had other members of Congress saying that if you want to get in and fight for your children, you're not allowed. But we had some news this week that would make it sound like that's a little bit too late, guys.
Our nation's report card was shocking. The report card showed 7 out of 10 fourth graders are not proficient readers, Dana, a number.
That's why I say both sides are like they both are at fault. And now it's kind of like both sides want to parade the children around and say we're doing it for the children. And it comes off sometimes as you're just using the kids right now to push your agendas. Both sides, like this is, that's why I said this feels so wrong to see.
That has worsened since the last report card in 2022. Worse, the numbers haven't improved in 3 decades. We're seeing the same thing for the middle schoolers at the 8th grade level. Less than a third of American students enter high school with the reading and comprehension skills that they need at that point in their lives. I mean, you talk about not getting access to the building, you're hearing from these folks, to go advocate for the kids. Well, what have they done lately, right? That report card has not improved. In fact, our nation's report card has worsened. There's a huge problem at the public school with the public school system in this country, and it has been failing our nation's children.
Shannon Bream, let's bring you in as Maxine Waters continues to berate the security guard.
Yeah, and listen, this is a great optic for Democrats who will want to use this and go out. You're going to see this stuff everywhere, probably. They've already got their teams rolling on it. And certainly this is what you do in Washington. There's the messaging and the optics of this, too. But I would point back to how many GOP lawmakers just earlier this week, Senator Joni Ernst said every time she tried to get answers from USAID, and I'm not saying she showed up physically, she may have, but every time that members of Congress try to get information from a federal agency, there can be an issue. She talked about that. Talk to Senator Chuck Grassley, who has sent subpoenas and requests for information all over to federal agencies, to the DOJ, to all kinds of places, only to be told basically talk to the hand and not get the information. So this is a physical showing up and not getting to where you want to go, but you may get the optics that you want. But Republican members on the Hill will tell you many, many times they've tried to get information from federal agencies, maybe not in a physical sense, but very much in a way that they claim they also have access to information and have been told, no, you're not getting it, or met with silence.
Wow. Yeah, we put the report card on the screen. You see the red arrows. That is the decline in the performance of our nation's children in math and reading in grades 4 and 8. But you obviously are looking at Democrats as part of this agenda that has been laid out, trying to obstruct. We don't know what the exact plans are, right, Shannon? The White House has still not been clear where they are going to go with this, but they are certainly highlighting this as a serious problem in this country. We don't know exactly what is happening here. We're not told exactly why this person's not letting them into the building. But certainly he said, we heard him say a moment ago, he's doing his job. So he's been asked to do this. But Shannon, maybe we'll get some clarity soon on this.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to me if they did go into the building, what would happen next? I mean, I think that they want to make a protest. They want to ask questions about what's going to happen, but I'm not sure what would be accomplished if they did go inside. There's not a confirmed Department of Education secretary. As you said, we don't know what the policy is going to be moving forward, but we know there's serious questions about how the department is functioning, what it's been focusing on, where it's been spending its money, and what that says in contrast to how states and localities may be better equipped to handle it. At least that's the argument from conservatives.
Shannon Bream, thanks for hanging with us. Linda McMahon is President Trump's nominee to head the Department of Education. That confirmation hearing will take place next Thursday, February 13th. And I guess Maxine Waters is just going to stay out there. We're going to take a quick break.
You know what this feels like? This feels like a nasty divorce. You ever been a part of one of those? I have. Nasty divorce. You know who ultimately suffers at the end of that? The kid. The kid suffers. Being put in uncomfortable positions and different things like that, seeing all the constant fighting and bickering back and forth, that messes the kid up. Yeah, I'm messed up, but it is what it is. It is what it is, but that's what this feels like to me, man. The more and more you see it plastered everywhere, normally you'd be like, maybe cooler heads prevail. They come to the table, they sit down amicably and figure out how to move forward. You know, even in a divorce situation, it may not be together, but we figure out a way to move forward that's best for the child. Where are we at with this situation right now?
What the hell? Have you ever seen this before?
Put it back. Put it back. Put it back. All the eggs, bro, gone in 10 minutes at Costco like that. They possibly are restaurants, but still, they should be limited too. Just like the people are limited that don't have businesses, the restaurants need to be limited too, fam. No, you should not be allowed to fill up. Like, we want to have an event at our house too, so we want to have eggs on the menu. Because you can only eat eggs during a special occasion now. It's got to be an event, cookout, bar mitzvah, graduation. I don't know about birthdays. I'm still deciding if eggs is on birthdays, but you know what I mean? Easter, we ain't hiding no eggs, bro. You especially not no real ones. We ain't painting no real ones. All fake eggs, bro. This year, gotta be.
Yo, somebody stole 100,000 eggs. Like, I know they're expensive right now, but damn. Police still haven't cracked who stole 100,000 eggs from a company in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania police are still scrambling to figure out who pulled off a daring heist of 100,000 eggs at a time when egg prices are soaring amid nationwide shortages. The theft was reported Saturday night of 100,000 organic eggs worth more than $40,000 from a distribution trailer in South Central Pennsylvania. The theft was reported Saturday night of 100,000 organic eggs worth more than $40,000 from a distribution trailer in South Central Pennsylvania. The facility where the eggs were poached was operated by Pete and Jerry's Organics in the borough of Greencastle, according to Pennsylvania State Police. At the time when the heist became public, Pete and Jerry said in a statement to USA Today that we take this matter seriously and are committed to resolving this as quickly as possible. The company, which distributes organic eggs from family farms to retailers, said in an updated statement Thursday that it is increasing our security and surveillance to help prevent this from happening again. And still, as of Thursday morning, investigators had yet to crack the case. It remains unclear how so many eggs could be removed at once and what a thief or thieves intend to do with them. So why do y'all think they stole the eggs? Let me know in the comments below, because this is just crazy. They really need to come down on those prices, though. Yo, somebody...
It's got to be the biggest heist of the decade right there, fam. Like, and that's crazy. You never thought you would have heard somebody say that stealing eggs would be the biggest heist of the day. It is right now. With everything going on, like this person, whoever it is, when they find them, that person's going to go in the history books. This will be talked about for years to come. This is crazy.
That's all right. So, I personally feel like if you have been on Section 8 for more than 3 years, you should be kicked off if you are a able-bodied person. I'm not talking about people with severe disabilities. I'm not talking about senior citizens. I'm not talking about veterans, okay? I'm talking about the people who are just riding the wave of wanting to live life cheaply. Okay, I honestly feel like 3 years is long enough for you to get financially stable to where you have found a better job. You should have a vehicle, and you should have some savings since you've been on Section 8. And honestly, it's so many, like if you look at the Section 8 process, it takes like 2 years for you to even be considered. I know people who've been on the waiting list for longer than that. I personally don't need it, but I know people who do, and they've been waiting forever and ever and ever, and it's just people that continue to give vouchers, and they would be just fine without Section 8. So honestly, it pisses me off, and with them revamping all of this stuff, that's one thing that they should be revamping. They're worried about the wrong changing the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America and deportation. We need to be worried about getting these lazy, able-bodied people off of the system for years and years and decades. Okay? Enough is enough. I feel the same way about food stamps. You should only be able to get food stamps for maybe 3 years so you can get yourself together. Food stamps, Section 8, and stuff like that is not a long-term solution for your life. It's not, especially when y'all out here on massive date nights, buying new cars, taking trips. Come on now. Y'all doing better than the people who can't even get approved to get help. But y'all get to sit on y'all and drive better cars, live better than us, travel better than us, hard-working individuals to pay y'all way? Absolutely not. That's all right. So,
I mean, stop me when she said something wrong, or stop her when she said something wrong. You know what I mean? You can go back and forth and debate the timeline. She said 3 years. You can debate whether or not that's adequate time enough, but anything else she said, where's the problem? Where's the flaw? I bet if you did take that away from somebody who's gaming the system, I bet that would motivate them. I bet that would motivate them because now you no longer have that crutch, so you got to figure it out. And as my grandma used to say, sometimes you need that kick in the butt to get you going, to get you motivated. Some people don't have that self-motivation. They just need something to give them a kick to get motivated. Well, that would jumpstart it right there, taking that away from you to where you can't do that. And like she said, it's people out here that need it, that can't get it, that are trying to go through every proper protocol and jump through every hoop, but can't seem to get it, get denied, or have to go back and start over and start the process again. When somebody who doesn't need it knows how to game the system, learn from somebody else who's gaming the system, knows how to navigate and fill out the paperwork the proper way, what to say, what not to say, how to come in the look and act and get approved.
Just a quick note for those of you who are celebrating the Department of Education being shut down and education being sent back to the state, so we can recoup all that wasteful spending and reinvest it back into the pockets of the billionaires who are pushing for this legislation. The Department of Education doesn't actually handle the curriculum. They said they're going to send it back to the states. Just like Canada and Mexico with their tariff negotiations. The states already handle it, just like Canada already said they were going to invest $1.3 billion in the border, and Mexico said that they would send 15,000 troops to the border, and now they agreed to send 10. Yeah, the states already handle the curriculum. Did you know what the Department of Education actually does? They ensure accommodation so that your kid with a 504 or IEP can actually receive an adequate education. The resources that they need. Maybe you have a kid that needs speech therapy, or maybe they have an issue with dyslexia, because those things happen. They also ensure that they can receive the accommodations that they need. Do you know what also the Department of Education does? They ensure Title I funding so that people in rural areas can actually have a school in their community and not have to drive 40 or 50 miles one way just to get to school. But we don't need to do any of that. We'll just shut it down. Send it back to the states, because we know how great they are, especially in Mississippi, with handling funds.
See, again, I told you I feel like a nasty divorce to me. Mom just made a great point. Now we're waiting to hear from Dad. He's going to show up, make a great point. Now the kid's caught in the middle, don't know who to go with. A nasty divorce, bro. This screams nasty divorce to me.